Hello everyone, this is Miss Julia here at the Colleyville Bridge Library bringing you another virtual Crafternoon. Today we are going to be making these lovely fairies or sprites in a jar. It's really cute and it's highly personalizable, so what I've used in this one, if you don't have these items at home, that's fine. I'm actually going to try different items, so let me just show you what we need for sure. So you will need a clear container. This can be a bottle, a jar, whatever you have on hand. You'll need some clear thread preferably, so this is actually fishing wire. If you don't have clear thread, you can use string. It's just so that when you have the fairy hanging down, the string isn't as noticeable. You will need scissors. You will need a needle, preferably one that's smaller than this. Is actually meant for children so that they don't poke themselves. A metal needle would probably work better, in which case an adult is also needed because they are able to work one of these a lot better than some of the smaller hands. You'll need a pom-pom of some sort, whatever color that you want for your actual fairy. You'll need some sort of material for the wings. Now with my example piece, I used a piece of plastic and put some glitter on it. For this example I'm going to make, I had some paper doilies that I just cut out some wing shapes out of. You can also use like cellophane or ribbon or felt, whatever you want to make your wings out of. You'll need something to stuff on the bottom of your jar. I had some leftover Spanish moss for this example. For the one I'm going to make, I'm actually going to try more of an icy theme. So I have some cotton balls I'm going to put at the bottom of my jar to kind of make it look like snow. You might also want something like a pencil or a rod or something to help stuff the bottle. And I think that's mostly it. You can also put in other decorations at the bottom or in your jar, like I have glitter that I'm going to be putting into the one I'm going to make. Not necessary. Oh, you also need glue. I highly recommend doing hot glue. You might be able to get away with tacky glue, possibly craft glue like the Elmer School glue. But with the Elmer School glue, it does not like plastic. So if you try and glue plastic with the Elmer's, it's just going to fall off. So please keep that in mind when you choose like your wing material or other material that you're going to be using for this. In any case, why don't we get into our fairy jar? So first I'm going to stuff the bottom of my jar with the cotton balls. I'm going to actually pull it apart a little bit so it's a bit more like fluffy snow. Now like I said, you can put whatever you want at the bottom of your jar. You can do the cotton balls, you can maybe find some dry leaves, put that at the bottom. Whatever sort of effect you want to go for. So I'm going to use my little rod to kind of stuff it down a little bit. I'll do this until I find or get it stuffed as much as I'd like, or however I want it to look. There we go, we have some nice fluffy snow. And I'm actually going to put in a little glitter. Again, you do not have to do this. This is just for my own personalized touch. That way my snow at the bottom kind of looks like it's all glittery. So I have some silver glitter, and I'll put in just a little bit of blue glitter just to make it pop. Beautiful. So I have my glittery snow. Alright, then with your fairy, we can set that aside for right now. We need to put the clear thread, the fishing line or whatever that is that you're using, through the pom-pom. So I'm going to tie a couple of knots in this so that when I thread the fishing wire through the pom-pom, it won't fall out. If you don't want to put a thread through the pom-pom, you can use hot glue and just sort of glue it on top. If you prefer, just note that you will have that sort of glue dot at the top of your fairy. I kind of like the threading through just so it gives it more of a sort of standalone look, so you don't have that sort of crafty look on your fairy, if that makes any sense. So we just tie a couple of knots. And then we're gonna thread our needle. As for the length of your wire, I would suggest doing it long at first, because you can cut it down to fit your bottle as needed. But it'd be a lot harder to make this longer rather than shorter. So I do it long and then I can cut it short later. So I'm gonna thread my needle with the fishing line, and then I'm gonna poke it through my pom-pom. Now with this big plastic needle, it's harder to get it through. I actually poked a hole beforehand before I started this video. You might struggle a little bit to get it through, but it does work eventually. You're gonna just pull your thread through. There we go. You can take the needle out and hopefully, so there we go. We have our floating fairy. Beautiful. So at this point, you would take whatever material that you want your wings to be and cut out a wing shape. So I just did a simple wing shape for my paper doily. You can see, hopefully with this example piece, I did more of like a butterfly wing shape. Whatever shape of wing that you would like is grand. I will mention though, you'll have to be careful with the material that you use for the wings. You probably want something that's a bit more pliable, because when you stick everything into the bottle, you want to make sure you're able to get the pom-pom and the wings through the opening of your bottle. Now if you have like a big jar that you're using that has a really large mouth, you won't have to worry as much, but when you have something smaller like this, you're gonna have to be a little more cognizant of your materials that you're using. In any case, we need to get our hot glue gun, and we're gonna glue on our wings. Maybe it's a little knotted, oh well, it'll reach. So I would suggest sort of holding up your pom-pom. So when you hold it up, because if you have it on the table like this, you might end up getting the wings crooked, so that when you finally do put it up, you'll find out that your wings are hanging off the bottom or something, and your fairy just looks a little weird that way. It's still fine. I actually did that with mine a little bit. You can see he's kind of flying upwards as opposed to just hovering. Whatever suits you, so you just sort of decide where you want your wings to be, and you can put in a little bit of hot glue, and then gently stick your wing, like so, and you'll do that for the second wing as well. You'll have to wait for the hot glue to dry, or whatever glue that you're using if you decided to go with more of a tacky glue. Or actually, you know what, super glue might work. I'm not sure how well it reacts to plastic if you're using a plastic material for your wings, but should hopefully be alright. So now I have my fairy. I just gotta wait for it to dry and kind of pull away all these glue strings. That's always the most annoying part of hot glue. I'm gonna set my hot glue aside. From here, once your hot glue is dried, you're going to kind of decide where you want your fairy to hang. I might have to wait a little bit, so I might jump ahead once my glue is dry. I think my glue is mostly dry and cooled down. So at this point, you kind of want to decide where you want your fairy to hang. So you're going to lightly, very carefully kind of stick it in. You can kind of decide if you feel like it more towards the bottom, or if you want it really hanging up towards the top, wherever you want. And actually, can I get him out again? Yeah, so I can get mine out again. If instead, I'm getting my directions all wrong today, but that's okay. So because I use paper, it's a lot easier for me to get it out, in and out of my jar. For this guy, I actually put the pom-pom in without the wings first to measure out where I wanted it to be and glued it onto the cap, and then I put the wings on. So that might work better if you're using a more firm material for your wings. If you have it more of the paper, the more pliable, you'll be okay if you put the wings on first, then decide where to hang it. But anyway, when you decide how far you want it to hang, you're going to put a bit of glue onto your cap. and stick your wire on it, or thread or string or yarn, whatever you're using. Now if you're using a container that has like a cork or something, you could probably also thread the needle again and stick it through the cork and tie it off if you want to do that instead. But for those who are using a capped material or capped jar, this will work just fine. Just putting a bit of glue and making sure it stays until it is cooled off. And again, you have all these threads and strings hanging off of it. When it's mostly cooled down and you don't risk pulling it out again, you can cut off the excess thread. Alright, I think it's mostly cool. So now you can see, get rid of all these strings, how my fairy is going to hang. And again, you're going to lightly and gently put it back into your jar and screw it shut. And there you have your fairy in the jar. So now I have two fairies of different sorts. And it's a really cute project that you can do a lot with. So different styles, different colors. So if you can think of this as maybe like a grass fairy, and this one is maybe like an ice fairy. You could do like a fire fairy where you put tissue paper at the bottom to make it look like fire. Whatever you want. So I hope you all enjoyed this lovely magical craft. Other than that, I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!